Can you tell if somebody is gay or straight by their chart? I say gay or straight, and of course there's a continuum in between nowadays. I think the simple, short answer is no. At least that's what my own experience has taught me. I have heard or learned many techniques in astrological literature and astrological lectures for making such a distinction for a person about their orientation, but I have never seen one that actually seemed to work. They tend to fail pretty spectacularly. The simplest statement I can make here is I think it suggests that God doesn't really give a damn, that it's not an important enough question to appear in the birth chart, who we love and how we love them. I'd press it a little bit further. The social interpretation of gayness is, of course, going through incredibly rapid flux. All of you over 40 understand the hard world that gay people were born into, and how much easier it is nowadays because of the general acceptance of gayness as a completely normal way of being human, and in fact gay people in their uniqueness making a huge and unique signature contribution to the culture. Where would we be without the Elton Johns of the world and so on? Not to mention the Liberace's, although he was in an earlier period. So with all that said, we recognize that in recent history there was an outsider or pariah identity attached to gayness. This is less true now than it once was. Historically, I think there probably was some correlation between Uranian energy, Aquarian energy, high declination, like out of bounds energy. On one hand, these are the exile or outsider signatures, all that on one hand, with gayness on the other. I think when I was a younger man, there was some pattern of observing that. I find it less obvious now for the simple reason that you're less of an outsider now if you're gay. This leads to a broader point, really, which is how astrology must constantly adjust to and be sensitive to the changing mythology of the times. We'd read in the old astrology books straight-faced statements like, in a man's chart, this configuration has this meaning. In a woman's chart, the same configuration, a different meaning. That, I think, was probably true then. It isn't now. And similarly, gay or straight is simply far less of an issue. The Uranian or Aquarian or out-of-bounds signatures that I think I used to observe with some reliability in cases of gayness have even then a broader range of meanings. So even then it wasn't like a reliable signature in the chart for recognizing that orientation in a person, because it would always be about breaking the rules of the culture. And so in a very conservative culture, for example, where everyone is expected to marry, a person who might choose not to marry might be heterosexual, but choosing not to marry. Opportunities to marry, but they say, no, thank you. This would be an odd choice historically. Nowadays, it's a normal one. Historically, that path, especially if it were the right path for the person to remain single, could have been indicated by this Uranian, Aquarian, or out-of-bounds family of symbols. A person who, in a more traditional culture, marries heterosexual marriage and chooses not to have children. Again, that's still somewhat of a minority choice, and whenever we're making a minority choice, the majority tends to pressure us to come back to normal, and if our path is not there, whether it's about not having kids, or not being married, or being gay, or marrying somebody of a grossly different age, or somebody with a different paint job, so to speak. Any of those choices that separate us from the mainstream will have that Uranian or Aquarian signature. How we define the mainstream, however, is in a constant state of flux, and every competent astrologer needs to constantly update their files and be aware of the mores of the present culture. Naturally, this becomes even more pressing as we get older. It is so important for we older astrologers to not be stuck in the past and recognize the world is changing and we have to change with it.